Okay, 5 a.m. Bro. Ha, no way. As soon as I say 5 a.m., bro. Hey there, and welcome back to Five Nights at Maggie's 2, where we're kind of like starting off on night 5, a bit of a rough night for sure. This is the same night that I'm recording. I want to keep giving it a shot, but I think the other video probably will end up being too long at this point, especially given my track record. Now, I did say I'm going to try and use the light just to check for when I should close the door. This should mitigate the issues I have with Guppy to some extent, but I don't know. I think the way that I was trying to do it differently because it was less nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I don't know. I think it was also it's weird because like closing the doors nonchalantly, like how I was doing. I hate that. Yeah, I've had a feeling that was not nearly long enough. You know, the tricky part about the door mechanic in general is that you don't know when they leave, through an audio cue, right? And it's not like in this case we have the ability to check cameras because I have to leave the door entirely. Whereas in the first game, yeah, you could just check cameras to make sure whether they left or not. And so it makes this scenario tricky because on one hand, it's like, okay, I can't keep the door closed too long because we have Guppy. But I also have to make sure I keep it closed enough so that what just happened last run doesn't happen again. So it's a balancing act. And I think Guppy in general is probably the most frustrating because I don't know how they work in terms of their phases. The breathing didn't happen immediately. Of course it didn't. But yeah, like with Guppy's mechanic, he has what I think are 3 or 4 phases or positions, I guess. And I don't know if he just makes his way from phase to phase to my desk, or if he just teleports technically. Like he could just end up right here all of a sudden. And I don't know if that even has any impact on how quickly he attacks you or whatnot. But it's a stressful mechanic to deal with considering you have to keep your back turned to close the door, and it's just like, I don't know. There's like a lot of things in general about this game's gameplay in particular that I'm not a fan of. I'm sure we'll probably get into that in this video. I'm honestly hoping that there's no night 6, frankly. I'm hoping there's no night 6, because I don't know. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. And you see what I mean? It's like, what do you want me to do there? I'm trying to find out what's the best way, but I can't even count to bloody 3 without getting caught. I mean, I don't know what else I can do there. Like, there's nothing I could have done in that scenario. Because that's why I was doing things the way I was doing them, just closing nonchalantly. But again, just like I said, that issue will still always be present. That issue is always going to be present one way or another, right? If I go to close the door and Guppy decides to attack in that moment, I'm screwed. Because I have to close the door for a minimum of 3. Why am I going to... Unless... I mean, I already tried closing it for less, right? I tried doing 1, 2, and I got caught. Of course, yeah, that's what happens when you just don't pay attention. But it's like, it's such a, I can't wrap my head around it, because on one hand, it's like as you saw already in the previous video, I was trying to be very quick with the doors so that I can catch a Guppy more frequently. The problem with that, though, is that the animatronics don't like that. Lola, Chansey, and Maggie, they don't want that. They want you to close the door and deal with them pretty much promptly. And closing the door for 1, 2 does not work. From what I've seen, at least from that one try. But, I mean, no, even when I try doing like 1, 2, 3, sometimes they don't leave immediately. So it's like, okay, well now I'm in a weird position, right? Do I prioritize on getting rid of them? Like, I don't know, what do I try and do 1, 2 again, but with the flashlight? 1, 2 is not long enough, so it's like, 1, 2. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2 is long enough there. But then I have to deal with this clown, like, zooming by. So 1, 2 can work, but it's not definitive. And then, again, like, you saw how it got really awkward there. I was like, 1, 2, he's still there, like, 1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah, like, 1, 2. 1, 2 is not long enough. I mean, I purposely used the flashlight, but 1, 2 is not long enough. It's not consistent, right? So now I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. Either I do, 1, 2, 3, which is much more consistent, and risk getting caught by Guppy because they chose to attack quick enough to the point where I'm pretty much doomed. Or I take a risk with 1, 2, and essentially risk getting caught by the door characters. Oh my god, I can't even deal with you because got sturdy. 1, 2, 3. Why do I even play myself? At least we'll find out for sure now if... see? 1, 2, 3. She's still there. Like, what the flying hell? She's still there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, 5 a.m. Bro. No way. As soon as I say 5 a.m., bro. Bro, I literally told myself I'm gonna be livid if I die at 5 a.m. I saw 4 a.m. as like, okay, we're going good. I saw 5 a.m. as like, if I die here, bro, I'm gonna be so pissed. That is so, yeah. No, I'm not happy. Not a happy camper anymore. When? If, I don't know. Well, actually, now that I think about it, if they all breathe at the door, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like I just had an epiphany. I think I just had an epiphany. If they don't breathe at the door, then I know I'm good. I don't even need to shine my light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this still doesn't solve my guppy problem though, but I think I found maybe I don't know. Do all 3 of them breathe? Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I might have found a bit of an answer. Because if they're only really hostile when they breathe, right? Then I don't need to shine my light at all. I don't even know why I'm looking up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 is more definitive. Again, the problem, 5 was working. The problem is that Guppy wasn't working with 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Too many times Guppy would just screw me for trying to... Oh my god. Don't do it. Okay. It looks like I might have stumbled onto something. Oh my god. I know there's breathing at the door. Okay. God damn it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's fine. I might have stumbled onto something here. Why am I doing that? Why am I... Stop using the light. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The problem with this strategy is that it puts me at risk at Guppy. It's why I was doing the blind runs in general. I don't know. There's so much weird things. I feel like, okay, there's breathing. I know there's breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or maybe that's what I should do. Like, if I confirm breathing, check Guppy, and then commit to the door, that might be the way to go. One, two, three, four, five. Unless it's this instant. I don't know if I heard breathing. I don't like that. Oh my god. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It depends. If it takes a while to hear breathing, then check on Guppy. Otherwise, just go straight forward. Never. Okay. I don't even know what got me. I got a black screen. I got most of a black screen. Damn it! I really thought that was working so well. What got me? I don't even know what got me. I'm literally telling myself, I was like, just stop doing it. Just stop doing it. But I really want to beat Night 5. But every time I return, my desire gets lower. It's a miracle. Oh my days. I don't even know. Jesus. Hey, like, hold on. Please don't even say anything. I need a breather. Oh. That was not fun. That was so stressful. Pretty much, okay, so I don't even know. It's so weird. It's so weird because the way I played that night feels like it shouldn't have worked. Because because you have the runs where the door characters got me, and those honestly I kind of get now. Because really, you need to give 5 seconds or a count to 5 to get rid of them when they're breathing, right? That's really the most reliable way to get rid of them. And so I kind of get how I can fail. I kind of get the failures from the door characters when I was doing like 2, 3 blind runs, or like 2 to 3 count blind runs, basically, like, 1, 2, no flashlight, no nothing. But from Guppy's side of things, I do not know how that worked. I actually forced myself to be so patient, convinced it wouldn't work, and Guppy, somehow for the life of me, was actually calm. They didn't instantly get me. Somehow that worked. I don't know if I got lucky. I don't know what the hell's going on. It honestly feels like kind of bullshit sometimes, because it's like, bro, you're telling me like Guppy couldn't be like this in any of the other runs that was like, doing well. I feel like, I don't know. Honestly, if there's one thing I will say that was an oversight on my part, the door characters and the fact that they all breathe. I don't know why. I figured it was only going to be a mechanic with the door characters where it's like, either they'll show up at the door and you close it, right? You can see it with the flashlight, or they'll be right up breathing. Don't turn on the flashlight. And in my head, I was like, okay, if I see them at the hallway, close the door. I thought that was safe. But I think that's how I've been screwing myself up this whole time. When I was actually looking at them. So many times I would close the door, but it's like sometimes they would leave. But see, now it makes me wonder, it's like, I don't know, it's such a weird thing, but I think sometimes that strategy just doesn't work because they can't attack you from the back of the hallway. So really, it's like I'm closing the door during a safe point in time, so it's like wasting free time I have to deal with Guppy and whatnot. So I don't know, I feel like in a lot of ways I was mishandling the door mechanic more than anything. It makes so much more sense to just go to the door, listen for breathing. Once you hear it, close the door. Otherwise, you leave. Really, I guess like in that sense, you really have to hone in on the FNAF 4 sound aspect side of things, which actually made the door mechanic a lot better to deal with, honestly. And I would say vastly better handled. I'm still not a fan of Guppy though. Screw Guppy. But anyways, let's see what we have here. Our text adventure guy. Hey, hello again. So you passed the first 5 nights. So here's your first pay. Oh no, they said first. That's how you know. Here you go. 65.50. Well, it is a pay bump from the first game, I guess. Okay, I know. It's not too much. The museum, it's not doing well. Maybe tomorrow after your shift. No, there's a tomorrow. We're going to shut it down. Well, life, I guess, huh? Okay, see you tomorrow. No, I don't want to be here tomorrow. No. What the hell? What did I win? What did I win? I swear. Oh, okay. Well, I won my $65 and a Maggie's plushie from the souvenir store. At least it's not a Guppy's one. At least it's not a Guppy's one. Good. Oh my god. Night 6. Oh. So can't Night 6 just be Jerry and Surdy, please? Can they just be event characters only? I don't want to do this. Oh. At least I have that, I guess. Okay, well, here we go again. Nothing changed, I guess, on camera. We'll just do things like normal. Just watch me have a lot of trouble with this one, too. Oh, boy. I jinxed it. I already know it. You know what would make things really easy? If I didn't have to deal with the bloody vents. Of course, that would be wishful thinking, wouldn't it? Alright, that is a little weird. Surdy showed up twice in a row, which is very rare for him. Oh, no, there's Jerry. How can that say? However, no one's shown up for doors, which is very unusual. They normally show up by now. Or, well, how it feels like they've been showing up by now since night 5. I swear to God, if these guys don't show up, if there's no door characters on night 6, it's going to be a blessing. It's going to be a, oh my God. I almost want to check the cameras just to confirm it for myself. Surely not, right? It's 1 a.m. No, it has to be. There's no way they're not active. There's no way. Hold on. I don't care. Let me check. Oh my God, are you serious? I can't even see what I mean. Like I can't even check cameras because I'm busy doing this nonsense. Come on. Hurry up. Oh my God, they're not active. The bloody door characters are not active. Oh my God, it's a free night. Oh my God, that's great. I can't believe it. I'm actually, I'm shocked. What? No like, can I check that again, please? Hurry up. Oh my God. Alright, well, it's 5 a.m. I pretty much just skipped through most of this, honestly, because it's pretty much a repeat of night either 2 or 3, whichever night had just Guppy and Surdy / Jerry in the vents. This is pretty much a copy and paste, only they're more active. So there's really not much to show, I think, in this case. I'm still kind of in shock that you calm down, Guppy. It's 5 a.m. I'm still kind of shocked that Night 6 ended up having this. I wonder why they went in this direction. Like, I mean, I have to assume it's intentional after all this time, right? But it's still pretty surprising that I don't know. It's something that that is something that I mentioned regarding the main nights, but for Night 6, an additional night, the fact that they just it's so weird. It's a weird decision. I don't know why the decision was made. And then we have this again. I swear to God, this game crashes again. Is it gonna say the same date? Yeah, it's always the same date, May 16th. I'm starting to wonder if this is like supposed to be like a post night thing that just randomly shows up. But there we go. We have our second star, extras and custom night. Jesus. Let's take a look at custom night first before I even think of going forward. So this is what we have to contend with. 720 mode. I don't think I'm beating this. I mean, I don't know. We'll just see. We'll see how it is. And based on how this goes, I'll either give it a good shake or just leave it as is. I have to admit, okay. I didn't think crackers would be there immediately. Hold on, let me raise my volume. I don't like this. 1, 2, 3. Nope, that definitely not enough. Let's just go. Let's just do what we normally did, okay? I thought for a second they weren't there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, well, that was quick. 5 count just completely screwed me. 1, 2, 3. This is the only way I can think. Nope, it's not enough. I got double teamed. Wonderful. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass. Yeah. Alright, extras. First we have animatronics with worn down versions, obviously, of our cast here with Maggie, Chancey. I keep saying Chancey sometimes, I realize. Chancey, Lola, Guppy, Cracky, along with Surdy once again, and Jerry. So the music changes for Jerry, Surdy, and just, not Guppy this time, which is interesting. In the first game, Guppy also had different music, but now it's Surdy and Jerry. Next, you have jump scares. Prepare your ears. We saw most of these. At least I didn't have to get caught by anyone in the vents. Then we have the process for making Maggie from Five Nights at Maggie's 1 in particular. Kind of going through the modeling process, first the head, then the torso, legs, bam. And then the same for Lola here. They really did see better days, didn't they? But that's pretty much going to cover our time here with Five Nights at Maggie's 2. Once again, feel free to let me know in the comments if there's anything I'm missing regarding like endings or whatnot, because I'm kind of just going through the games right now, just like based on what I see and whatnot. I'm not really looking anything up. And with that in mind, my thoughts on the game. Alright, so this is going to be edited in at some point during my last video on Five Nights at Maggie's 2, but I saw a comment on my first video, right, where they pretty much mentioned that there's supposed to be cutscenes after each night, which I was like, that's kind of weird. But of course, I did end up mentioning at one point, I was like, we keep seeing these messages about these museum security videos that keep getting deleted, it can't be found, and then my game crashes. And I was like, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be intentional, or if the game's actually crashing because it's happened consistently, albeit at random points in time. But it's definitely not supposed to happen. There are cutscenes after at least each night that it shows the video with the, it shows the part with the deleted videos and whatnot. So as a result, we're going to be taking a look at DLC Play's playthrough of Five Nights at Maggie's 2 Classic. As far as I've been able to see so far, he does have those cutscenes. So we're going to get a little bit of information at least, because I thought it was weird how the second game felt even more bare bones from a story standpoint compared to the first game, but it clearly was just game stability issues at that point. Alright, so here's the first cutscene after night 1. Error solved. So it actually is supposed to work. We have Surdy moving around. He walks off into... He's through the museum, right? Guppies, 1980 to 1989. He's on the first floor. Where does he go? He looks at a portrait of Surdy and a kid. Then looks at the camera. So this could be... Let's see. So as you can see, clearly the game's not supposed to actually crash there. You know, if there's one thing I will say, I'm lucky that even though my game is crashed after the cutscenes, it hasn't reset progress or anything, because that would have been really bad. But he looks at this portrait of Surdy and the kid, and of course now we have to wonder who is the kid. Now there is one more thing I actually want to mention from the first video, and that's regarding Stacey McAdams. Now this was a character that I did not remember from the reboot trilogy, and that's because Stacey McAdams in the reboot trilogy was the little girl that died when being accompanied with Henry to Maggie's Magical World. I believe she got hit by a car outside of the restaurant. If I remember correctly, I think she went out into the street because of a balloon. I mean, again, I'm trying to operate completely off of memory here, but that's her role in the story, she would end up being under the care of her father, John McAdams, as he tries to put her soul into an animatronic, you know, trying to unlock eternal life and all that. That's pretty much been his main goal in the reboot trilogy. So, interesting how the original games have Stacey McAdams as an adult here, or, you know, not a child anyway, working as a night guard. So that is one more thing I did want to mention, since, again, I didn't remember Stacey McAdams at the time. Okay, so there's actually no video after night 2, so immediately move on to night 3. I think all of the footage shows up... Oh, okay, wait, no, they don't show the date, but this time, Jerry is now active. So that explains Jerry kind of... Because I was saying, is like, Jerry showed up really randomly in the game. They didn't, you know, mention anything with Jerry. But that's how they become active on night 3, or at least they kind of show that. And that's pretty much their outro. Also, that explains why after every night, or not every night, but I kept getting the same kind of like footage with the video. You know, it was like saying like error, it was a video from May 16th or something like that. Because I think it was trying to replay the same video over and over again, because I technically never got it, which is interesting. Now, this is actually not one of the... You know, this is not after a specific night. They marked this as a secret that they found in the game. Maybe a secret, you know, death screen or something. Let's see what they have to say.
Come here.
Let me start again.
Here with us.
Come here with us.
A magical place only for you. You're gonna like this place. Hey, 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 hey. You don't know anything of us. Say goodbye, little baby.
What the hell? You know, maybe there's another thing that I have to consider, the fact that Surdy may not be... Again, I think something, you know, I do want to mention, maybe because, I don't know, something that I keep kind of like doing instinctually, but it's like, I'm aware that the classic game story is not connected to the reboot in any way. It's just that I can't help but look at Five Nights at Maggie's and just try and implant what I remember from the reboot trilogy onto the classic games. It happens instinctually, and it's like, it's not something I think about all the time. I don't think about it consciously, so that's why a lot of times, like, for example, I talk about how sometimes I'll mention is like, for example, Surdy. I have that predisposition to think of how Surdy is the main bad guy, right? Because in the reboot trilogy, Surdy's possessed by John McAdams, the, you know, villain of the entire trilogy. But that may not be the case here, right? And even though they kind of portray Surdy so far, especially from the first game, as, you know, one of the animatronics that's quite different, I have to kind of recognize, like, for all we know, Surdy is like a Golden Freddy type of character, or they're just another animatronic possessed by some poor kid or something, right? Who knows, right? That's something that we're trying to like pretty much figure out here as we play through the classic games. But I recognize that sometimes I try and make the reboot details fit, or reference the reboot details as if they're consistent with what's happening here, but I'm aware that they're separate. It's something I do subconsciously pretty much, and I don't quite realize it in the moment. Now I'm wondering if Night 6 has anything additional. It does. I do remember seeing something here. Now, is it going to show what video it was? Because the error with Jerry didn't show the date for the video. Let's see. Okay, no, so they just skipped the error again. The museum's on fire after Night 6. Maybe Surdy's responsible. Surdy and Jerry specifically. Place goes up in flames. We don't see the others either. Oh, and here we go. We did not even, because the game crashed, we didn't even get our Night 6 ending like screen or anything. So, Maggie's museum burned down in the night of the past Saturday. According to the police, the fire was caused by a short circuit and a gas leak. The neighbors say that the fire started inside the building, bringing it to understand that it wasn't, or I guess leading to the conclusion that it was intentional. Leaving as the biggest suspect was the security guard. His body was not found in the building. The police think that the guard started the fire and fled the scene. His body. So it suggests that. Wait, how's that? Wait. No, okay, wait, no, I'm confusing with the first game. The first game, the night guards are consistent, right? Because we get the paycheck. But we actually never saw. I guess this is confirming that there's a different night guard for Night 6 that is not Stacey McAdams. I guess they actually... Wait, did they actually beat 720 mode? Oh, I gotta give props to that. How in the world did they manage to pull that off? Hold on, I need to see this. So they look back... They kind of... Okay, so... Oh, they still check the flashlight. So even though they wait to listen for the breathing, they still check to make sure there's no one there, which is a good idea. I think, yeah, this is probably like the best way you can make that 720 strat work. I don't think I have the nerve for it, honestly. So big props to DLC Play for that, because I don't think I would even want to bother. So we have... Okay, so you get the same ending. So this part is irrelevant. Just, you know, pretty much you get the museum fire. Oh, and wait. See, I was about to write that off. I was about to say, oh my god, if I beat 720 to get that would be annoying. Okay, we got binary. I'm gonna have to translate that. Alright, so the binary actually translated to a link that doesn't lead anywhere to me. I'm guessing it was probably like a teaser link for the third game at whatever point it would have eventually come out, or just a teaser that the third game's in development or something like that. So that pretty much gives us a better idea of what's going on story-wise. Alright, so that pretty much covers everything, at least from the cutscenes that we've missed. Again, credits to DLC Play for not only getting the footage for that, but beating 720 mode. Props to that, honestly, because that's impressive. I don't think I can do that. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to leave my thoughts about the story here rather than when I normally do, because I think it's just better to get my thoughts on the story now while I have everything fresh in my mind. I think even with what we saw in those cutscenes, obviously there's still not a lot that we know. For one, at least we know now that after Night 6, the museum burned down, and it wasn't Stacy working the night shift. Either there's a mistranslation there, or it's implying that, yes, someone else was working on Night 6, and that they might have been the one to burn down the museum, if not the animatronics themselves. Obviously, we got to see through the cutscenes some of Surdy looking at that portrait again. Maybe they are the kid on that portrait for some reason. We don't really know how Surdy in particular got possessed the way they are. It could just be general possession, you know, like all of them got possessed because they all died. But we don't really have much information on the circumstances besides Surdy actually luring them in the first game. So, I mean, no matter how you look at it, though, it feels as though Surdy still has to be like the main antagonist, kind of like responsible for the kids' abductions anyway. At least I feel like that detail might not be changing from what we've seen so far. But then we also have Jerry, who's introduced on Night 3. Again, certainly more, I guess, like there's obviously a focus on Surdy and Jerry specifically, right? The reboot kind of does this as well, but we don't really see much of Jerry after the fact. So I'm hoping that we actually do get to see more of Jerry in the third game or the fourth game and get an idea as to like who is actually possessing these animatronics, what exactly is going on, because even now with what that additional information, things are still a bit, kept under wraps really. And with that said, we're gonna go back to whenever I was actually recording this video. Now, gameplay I think is obviously like the biggest thing. So far, like besides the way the story is executed, gameplay obviously is huge in terms of changes, right? I already brought this up in the very first video on Five Nights at Maggie's 2 Classic, but in the reboot version, or right in the reboot for the second game, you had cameras in the front, Guppy to your right, and to your left you have this hallway. You have like a panel, I think, for the lights and electric shock and whatnot. And that was pretty much like the core mechanics. Now, obviously, this game does things a lot differently. Setting is somewhat similar in the whole idea of like a museum or whatnot, but this game is a more traditional museum, whereas I guess like at least like my initial impressions on the museum in the reboot game is more like a warehouse turned museum really. But with that in mind, gameplay. Cameras are done quite differently, right? You can obviously have 2 floors, you access the cameras, and you have to, you insert the number for which camera you want to view. Cameras pretty much become redundant after, pretty much on night 4, they become redundant because you don't have the time to go on cameras. Mainly because there's a delay, an intentional delay where you're searching for cameras. You just can't really risk that delay when you have Guppy, who sometimes attacks extremely quickly. And then you also have to worry about animatronics in the vents, right? The moment you hear that vent sound cue, you have to get out of cameras immediately. And then kind of with the doors, you have to really keep on top of them so that you don't get caught off guard by, whoever may be standing at the doorway breathing. So cameras eventually just become redundant, and that applies especially in night 5. You just don't have the time. So it's a similar issue again that kind of happens with the first game. Though I would say like in the first game it's a bit different, because in the first game you don't need cameras, or like you could definitely get help from the cameras, but it's not mandatory. Whereas in this game, it's like it's the cameras can be an afterthought. They don't really like using the cameras would not help you. It's just a detriment because of how long it takes to activate them. So in this case, it's a bit different compared to the first game. First game, you could use cameras, but you don't need to be, successful and beating the night or whatnot. In this game, you want to avoid using the cameras really, because it's just a waste of time at that point. And then overall mechanics, right? Vents, I don't really have a problem with the vent mechanics. Sometimes they move extremely quickly. Sometimes they'll linger in the vents. Other times they'll move very quickly. That's something I've noticed with all of the characters. The amount of times they linger with their mechanics, or sometimes they take a while. Sometimes they move really quickly. So it's kind of like RNG. That's like the main RNG aspect with their mechanics, how long they can attack. Where, like for example, vents, will they show up in the vents and then just sit there for a bit, or will they go through all their phases all at once? Similar with the door characters, and similar to Guppy also, because sometimes Guppy will stay still, or like Guppy won't move much, like within a certain period of time, and other times they move really quickly. In general, gameplay loop wise, rough start for me. I didn't really get used to it, partially because I misunderstood some of the door mechanics, or I was a bit too overprotective of my door, I guess is one way of putting it. But I'm not a fan of how Guppy can clash with the door mechanics in a way where it's like, you have to watch the door, you have to keep the door shut if they're breathing at it, but you also have to keep in mind that Guppy behind you can move whenever they want. And so for a while I was in this weird loop where it's like, okay, I'm closing the door, I have to figure out how long to close the door so that I don't get caught by the door characters, but also make sure that I don't get caught by Guppy for staying at the door too long. So you have to kind of do this balancing act, which I think on paper, I think makes sense. Like, I think it's a good idea. The problem is that you can't really tell when they leave the doorway while you're holding it shut, right? There's no footsteps, there's nothing to indicate that they're gone. So you kind of have to experiment sometimes, or take a risk that they're not gone and then quickly close the door again after you check on Guppy. So to some extent it can work. Obviously we made it work with Night 5. I think it's just one of those things that's like, it's not very, at least for me, it wasn't very intuitive. It was a very frustrating gameplay loop to get behind. And all in all, I think it was just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that it was weird because the way the nights also progress, I feel like don't really set you up in the best way to really get used to the gameplay loop. Because night 1 you have just the door characters, that makes sense. But then night 2, they introduce Guppy's mechanic, so they kind of mess with your gameplay loop throughout the main nights. Night 3 is very similar, where you don't really deal with the door characters, I believe. And then night 4, you deal with all of them all at once, and it's like, not really how you usually see nights progress. Normally, you kind of want to ease them into the whole gameplay loop, but night 4 started pretty strong with the gameplay loop, and is pretty much your real first time getting exposed to the full gameplay loop, which is why it was such a frustrating experience, because I had to start thinking about how to balance out Guppy's timing with the door, something you don't do until night 4, right? Because they don't show up before then. From what I remember, my mind's kind of scrambled a bit there, but for at least that part of the game is definitely a weird choice. So yeah, all in all, a bit of a weird experience with this one, I would say. Whereas I enjoyed my time with the first game, this game, again, a bit weird. I don't think the gameplay really clicked for me in this one like the first game did. I think the changes that came with the reboot later on were definitely much more positive and just overall better from a gameplay standpoint compared to the original vision that this game had. But that pretty much covers my thoughts on this game. Next time, we'll be taking a look at Five Nights at Maggie's 3, which is not the last classic game since there's actually a fourth one. I'm curious to see how the things pick up from a story perspective, because, again, at least from the first 2 games, there's not so much going on. There's like little like bits and pieces here and there. But of course, with all that said, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, hit that notification bell to keep up to date on future videos. The game will be in the description below as always. And with that said, I'll see you in another video. Take care.